If you've ever felt inadequate when pursuing your dreams or at a roadblock and you're running after your calling, keep listening to this week's episode because you are going to be inspired to run after your dreams unashamedly. And make sure to listen to the end for a special gift from this week's guest. Hello and welcome to the Unashamedly You podcast, a space to enlighten, encourage, and empower you to go out and unashamedly be who God is calling you to be. I am your host, Jamie Herndon. I pray you hear less of me and more of Him as you listen to today's episode. Let's grow together. For those of you catching the episode when it is released, happy Friday. We love Fridays around the Unashamedly You podcast because that means we get to hear from someone new that we get to glean from, and today's no different. We have a guest that is a beautiful young entrepreneur, and she's making waves in the fashion world with her shop, AutiCloth Co. I have been told by so many people that I've got to get her on for an interview for the podcast, and we're finally getting to hear from her. I just cannot wait to hear all that she has to offer us. Autumn, welcome to the Unashamedly You podcast. We are thrilled to have you on. Introduce yourself to us.
Hi, thank you for having me. So my name is Autumn Walters. I am 22 years old. I live in a really small town named Sebastopol in Mississippi, and I go to Brother Mark Copeland's church, Pine Grove. I went there my whole life. I'm an only child, so I have no siblings. And then I am a dog mom of my little Callie. She's a little poodle, and she is my heart. And yeah, I've worked at coffee shops before. I love coffee. I love clothes, fashion, media design. I help on our media at our church. I get to work there, and I love that. I work for our church coffee shop doing the social medias and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I kind of do a good bit of stuff, but yeah.
Love it. So I'm actually a new dog mom, maybe dog grandma because the dog's for my kids, really.
Yeah.
But we just got a Yorkie poo and she's really cute and she's actually growing on me. So when we first got her, I was like, not that excited, but I did it for my kids. And people that are listening to this right now, you love dogs and you're really all about dogs and you probably think I'm a horrible person right now. But so the other day, my husband's like, I really feel like our dog's growing on you. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because you're letting her sit beside you while you're on the couch. We haven't really got to her being allowed to sit in my lap yet. I know some people do.
Oh no.
But she got to,
Yeah.
she
Callie's
got to
like
sit,
my angel.
she got to stay on the couch with me. So I love that. So you're a dog mom and you're only 22. Oh my goodness. Everyone, you guys are about to be absolutely impressed whenever you find out what all she's done in such a short amount of time. And another thing, I do not know if you guys are noticing or not, but there have been a few podcasts lately, and they're in Sebastopol, Mississippi, with women that are absolutely killing it in the business world. And I'm blown away. I'm impressed because, first of all, kudos to brother and sister Copeland for having a culture of entrepreneurship and not just entrepreneurship, but entrepreneur women that are going after their dreams and they're going after God given callings. I obviously am a huge proponent and supporter of that. And I'm so excited. I know that Sebastopol is a very small town. And so several things you're going to learn on this podcast is you don't have to be from somewhere big to make it big in life. And you don't have to be very old to be doing something huge. You can go after your dreams no matter how old you are. So, Autumn, I love that you're only 22. You are absolutely killing it in life. And I'm so excited to be interviewing you. So, you are the owner of an adorable boutique called AutiCloth. And like I said earlier, I've been following you on Instagram, social media, and I absolutely love your shop. It is so adorable. But tell us, how did you get started? Where was the beginning? Because I know that you did not start in a storefront and have all the things going on that you have now, but you got started. And what was the beginning story?
Yeah, so I started in 2020, I feel like whenever COVID happened, a lot of people were kind of channeling their talents or their gifts or trying to hone those talents in. So in 2020, it was toward the end of the year, I started working on opening up my website. And thinking back on that now, I had just turned 19. I was barely 19. And this week I've been kind of thinking about it. I don't know if I was just crazy or if I just had a lot of faith that I was doing it for the right reasons and that I felt like God had given me that so he would catch me if I fell. I started it in a one single rack in the corner of my bedroom, and actually Target still sells that rack. And so sometimes I'll go look at it because it's kind of sentimental, but it was one single black rack and it had 2 clothes racks on it and 4 shelves. And everything I had in my store, my website, fit on that one rack. My shipping bags, my scales, everything. And I had a little desk with a laptop, and that's where I would ship everything. So I launched it in October 10th of 2020, and it was just my baby. It was kind of a side thing for a while because, like I said, I worked in the church administration office, and I worked with my church media, and it was just kind of a thing I did on the side, but I knew I wanted it to be big later. I just didn't know how to balance it then. And this is something I was also thinking about, me being 19, starting it. For any girls that are listening, don't think that you have to be 25 or 30 to start what you want to do. Because like at 22, I look back on some of the decisions I made far as branding or colors or design choices, and I don't like that. But I know in the future, I may look back at what I'm doing right now and think, oh, that could have been better. But it gave me longer to learn. And so even if what I started with wasn't perfect, I still started. And it kind of got me a head start to where I feel like I'm going. So don't ever think that you have to be 30, 35 to start what you want to do, because you do not. So I started it, like I said, in my bedroom on a clothes rack. And then it kind of just kept growing and I outgrew that. And we had a storage building down from my house. And so I painted it, I put cabinets, I made it really cute, and it had a big desk in there, and I moved everything in that. And it had like a backdrop, and I filled that up. And I live probably less than half a mile from the church. And on Sundays, we have service at 12 and at 3. So one Sunday a month, I would do a thing called open shop. And at 4, I would open my little building, and everybody coming home from church, like going home from church, would stop and shop. And so I would have like cookies and cupcakes and drinks and stuff like that. And it was so fun. And I got that kind of experience or that taste for a storefront without actually stepping out and doing the storefront. So that was kind of where I started. It was, like I said, I think I just kind of had crazy faith, but I also knew that God gave me that desire to do that. And he put that in me. And if my heart was in the right place and I was doing everything I knew I needed to do on my end, that he was going to hold me up.
So being only 19 years old whenever you got started with this, tell us a little bit, like, did your parents help you get started buying your clothes? How did that start up?
Well, so my parents have always owned a company. Ever since before I was born, they've owned a business. And so that's all I've ever known. So I knew that I wanted to own a business eventually. I just didn't know how or when, all of that. But actually, the way I started and the way I made my first order was I had a savings account and I don't know if this is a older thing, but when I was little, my parents or either my grandparents started me a savings account. And some people may still do that. And for like birthdays or something, when I was little, they would put money in there. It wasn't very much, but it just kind of was for college one day or a first car or anything like that. And So I graduated valedictorian and I had a scholarship, but funny enough, I hated college. And so I had that scholarship and I used it for a semester or two. And then I stopped college because college just wasn't for me. And I took that money out of that savings account that they had saved for that. And I used that, I wiped it out and used that to buy my first inventory order. So that's kind of how I got started. My parents were extremely supportive. Thinking back though, they probably thought I was crazy, but they knew that I was willing to work hard for it. So, because that's my parents always, if there was anything they instilled in me, it was hard work. And they knew that if I said I was going to do something, I was going to work for it. So,
I love that. And my girls have that. Their grandparents actually have started a savings account. And now I'm thinking that is so amazing because I can't wait to see what they do with it one day. Well, we believe that the spiritual connects to the natural in everything that we do. You've already said, I love your faith at such a young age, and you must have incredible parents and family members, church that has instilled that faith in you because already talking about that, you just had crazy faith and you believed that God was going to catch you. And to only be 19 years old and have that kind of faith is amazing. I love that. Love the confidence that you have in God. And we know that there's nothing you can do for God spiritually that he can't turn around and bless it in the natural. So, what is something that you've personally done in the spiritual for God and you've watched him turn around and bless it in the natural or through your business?
okay. So I was at a point with AutiCloth that I knew something had to give. I couldn't keep going the same way I was because it was like I had so many irons in the fire that they were all kind of suffering. And I knew that I wanted to do AutiCloth, but it was just a pull. And I knew something was going to have to change, whether that be close the shop down, if that's what God wanted, or it go to the next level. So I'd really been thinking and talking to mentors in my life about it. And one Friday night, the chosen group at our church, which is 18 to married, we were having like a Bible study at one of the leaders' house. And Savannah actually brought up us doing the 52-day fast. And we were all like, what is the 52-day fast? And so she told us about it.
So, I'm just going to interject right here and explain a little bit more about the 52-day fast. So, this 52-day fast actually comes from my bishop, which is Bishop Joel Holmes. And he actually has a book written about it. And I will leave that information in the episode notes so that you'll know where that you can get it. But it comes from the scriptural text in Hebrews 4:1-2. And it says, let us therefore fear, lest a promise being left us entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. For unto us the gospel preached as well as unto them, but the word preached did not profit them, not being mixed with faith in them that heard it. So the 52-day fast comes from how Nehemiah had built the wall in 52 days. And our bishop said that the Spirit of God prompted him to challenge people to give something up and to commit to focused prayer and fasting specifically for 52 days and just see what God can do. And I'm telling you personally, I have done 52-day fast and I have watched God move in mighty, mighty, insane ways and answer prayers that honestly they seemed impossible, and they were impossible for me, and I didn't see how God was going to work it out, but I've given something to him for 52 days and it works. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say that you guys did and what happened with yours.
We pretty much, I mean, I guess it was a good thing, but we pretty much peer pressured each other into doing it. And so everybody had their own thing that they were fasting from. And just about all of us did social media. And we started this it was 2 weeks before my birthday. So it was like the end of July, beginning of August. And we all did social media and we all got on a group text, and other people were doing other things too. Like my biggest one was, and might seem kind of funny, but I have I have naturally curly hair, like fro curly hair. And it torments me because it's just hard to deal with. If you have curly hair, it's so hard to deal with. And it's so much easier if you have straight hair to just get up and fix it and go. Well, I have really, really curly hair. And so that night I was like, what can I fast? Everybody was talking about different things they were going to fast, obviously social media, and then another one. And a lot of people were saying, well, I'll do caffeine. Well, I'll do this. And I was like, I cannot do caffeine, which I didn't feel like I needed to do caffeine, but I was like, I know I can't do caffeine. So it just hit me. You need to fast from flat ironing your hair. And I know that sounds so crazy, but I was like, God, I cannot do that. Like, that is the biggest sacrifice ever, because I know that sounds so crazy, but it takes me so long to get ready. And, the whole girl problems, can't find nothing to wear because your hair doesn't look right with it, all that stuff. So I just decided I didn't want to tell anybody, though, because I knew they would pressure me and they'd be like, yes, that's what you have to do. So I just like kind of kept it to myself for a little while. We were all talking or whatever. And towards the end of the night, I told my friend, I was like, I think I figured out what I'm going to fast from. And she was like, what are you doing or whatever? And I said, I think I'm going to fast from flat ironing my hair. Like, I think I'm going to wear my hair just natural for 52 days. And she was like, you have to do that. You have to do that, whatever. So that was so hard. That was harder than social media. So I did it for 52 days. And we all were reading our Bible through. We all tried to read our Bible through in that span of time too, which reading your Bible through in 52 days is intense. So some of us didn't completely finish it, but we all had a group text and it just really brought us all together at that time. So I decided that I was going to do social media and flat ironing my hair, and I was doing it for my shop, for something to happen with it. And during that, there was a building in town right next door to Vans, which is my friend's coffee shop. And I wanted it. I wanted that building so bad, because in the past, there had been buildings I went and looked at, or there had been buildings that come up for sale or for lease or whatever. And I would go look at them and it would always fall through. And I would come home heartbroken because I wanted a building so bad, but I just felt like nothing would work. But I would always make myself come back to something better is going to work. Like, I know something better is going to happen. And when that happens, I'll realize why all these other things didn't happen. So we went on the 52-day fast, and I would come to that specific building in town that I wanted, and I would park in front of it and I would pray over it. And it wasn't like I was taking somebody's building, because I don't want anybody to think I was trying to shut someone's business down. But the business that was in it, they had the building next to it also. They had them connected in the middle. And so they had one section on what is my building now, and then another section on what was theirs. So I would come and pray in front of it. And during that 52-day fast, there were several times that I thought I was going to get it and it fell through. And I was like, God, why are you doing this to me? Like, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just kept doing it. And the 52-day fast was so hard. And by the end of it, we were all like about to kill each other. Not really, but in a way. And literally, I'm not exaggerating at all when I say that on day 52 of that fast, I was handed the keys to that building. And it was such a God thing. And I just knew, like, now you can't convince me that I'm not supposed to be doing what I'm doing, because it's so evident that God did it. I didn't do it. I went on the 52-day fast, but God made everything work out just how it was supposed to be, so I would have exactly what I wanted.
And one thing I've discovered myself whenever I do the 52-day fast and what God does, and I questioned God. I said, God, how does this work? Like, how in the world does this work? And the Bible says that some things happen by prayer and fasting. Another thing I've learned through that 52 days is I have faith that what I've written down, or what I've asked God to, a mountain I've asked him to move, something I've asked him to do, my faith is exponentially higher whenever I'm on a 52-day fast for it. It's like whenever I start that 52-day fast, I expect God to move. I expect him to work. I expect him to do what I'm asking him to do. And so sometimes I've felt like that the Lord has said, I can do it without the 52 days. It doesn't take me 52 days to do things. I can do things suddenly, I can do things immediately, but you don't always have the faith for me to do it. You don't always have the faith for me to move this mountain. But when you're on that 52-day fast, you get the faith to do it.
So, on another thing that the spiritual connected to the natural on was pastor preaches a lot about being a blessing to the kingdom, and he has a message called Blessed to be a Blessing, and basically about God, if your heart's in the right place and you're wanting to be a blessing to the church and the kingdom of God, God is not going to see that and not give back to you. He will reward you for that. And I remember one time, Brother Willie Holland, he comes and preaches for us a good bit, and he was there. Actually, I don't think it was the Sunday. He preached a Sunday, and the Sunday that we paid off our church, which was amazing. I don't remember if it was that Sunday or a different one, but he talked about giving and being a blessing. And that Sunday, I was just starting AutiCloth up. And I wanted so bad to just give so much, like every dollar I had, but obviously I couldn't at that time. But that Sunday, I took a tithing envelope from behind the pew, and not hardly anybody knows this, and now I'm putting it out there on public air, but I took a tithing envelope from the back of the pew, and I wrote my name, and I wrote the date, and I wrote how much I wanted to give. And I folded it up really tight and I put it in my wallet, and I would just pray over it. And I would just tell God, you see my heart and you know how much I want to be a blessing to the church. And like in the mornings when I would go to pray, I would take my wallet in with me and I would just pray over it. And there came the time when I was able to give that offering. And it was such a just wow moment, because now so many things have happened that you can't convince me I'm not supposed to be doing what I'm doing. And then that's not arrogance or not even confidence in my own self, but that confidence in God. Because like I said earlier, I've just always known if I fall, he will catch me.
So good. He is a rewarder of those that diligently seek him. You can't seek him and seek after the things of him and put him first and him not reward it. And so I love your story. It's so amazing. But has this always been a dream of yours to own a clothing shop? I know you said you love fashion, you love things like that, and you were only 19 when you started it. But as a little girl, did you dream of owning a clothing shop?
I did. I've always wanted a store, but more than even wanting a store, I always wanted to be around people and connect with people and serve the people of Sebastopol. When I was little, we owned a snow cone stand in Sebastopol, and I loved working with people even at 12, 13, just being around them, serving them. And so I've always loved fashion. I've always loved clothes. That's always been my hobby, even as a little girl. And so it was kind of just merging two of my favorite things to create the store now.
So, what's been the biggest hurdle that you've had to jump over so far in owning your own business?
I would say being content, because I know what I want the end goal of AutiCloth to be. And I also know where I started and how far it has came, but still I want it now. And I have to be patient and learn to be content and learn to remind myself that it's a journey and God has brought me this far and he's going to take me to where I want to go. But probably more than that, he wants me to be content with where he's brought me so far. So I love the store and I'm so thankful, but I find myself so many times being like, well, we need to change this, or we need to make this bigger. We need to do this, or it needs to be, and just constantly telling myself, you are doing good and be content with what God has given you thus far. That's been a
As
hurdle for me.
as entrepreneurs, we're naturally dreamers. We're naturally big picture, big thinkers, big dreamers. And learning that you have to walk and go step by step instead of being able to run or fly. Like I don't even want to run to the next spot. I want to fly. I want to get there extremely fast. I want to just jump hurdles and run through it and fly over it. And sometimes that is a big hurdle for people to just learn how to walk. You've got to walk through it. You've got to walk over the mountains. You got to go through the valleys. And you've got to learn how to do those things. So learning to be content, that is a huge thing for business owners. So talking about the future, where do you see AutiCloth in the future?
I definitely see it way bigger than it is right now. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know God has given me a dream, and mainly for it to just keep being a light. I didn't realize how much it would be a light, but with our church and being in revival, we have so many new converts all the time. And they all come to my store because they want dresses. And that's something I never thought about until a few days ago. Somebody pointed that out to me of how many new converts come to get clothes and how many new converts are at church wearing my clothes. And that is just, I think that's such a beautiful thing because I didn't expect to do that. I didn't think about that. But just continuing to be a light to the community and a place people can come together and grow.
So somebody listening to this, they may have a dream, something that they are dreaming of doing. They may feel young or they may feel too young to be able to do it, but I know that you are giving them inspiration right now. But they may have a dream of something that they've dreamed of doing as a little girl and they are not doing it yet, but they want to be, they want to step out, they want to do that. Or maybe they're in that process, that doubting phase. They're in that process of where you were, like they're needing to grow, but they're not sure how to make it happen. What is some advice that you would give someone that is in those phases?
So the reason I originally started AutiCloth was when I was 18. I went through kind of a rough time in my teenage years, and which I feel like every teenager goes through. And I was trying to find myself and figure out what I wanted to be for my own self, not what people had taught me to be. And I remember one night I was sitting in a mentor of mine's car and I was crying. And she told me, "You need something to put yourself into." She told me, "You need something to channel all this energy into. You need something to put your passions into that will take all this time off your hands, basically, because you're an 18-year-old and an 18-year-old with too much time doesn't go many good places fast." So AutiCloth in a way saved me because I was being a normal teenager, and AutiCloth basically helped me find myself and find what I wanted to be in God, and it gave me a purpose. And so if you're young and you're wanting to start a business, do it. Don't wait until it's perfect. Don't wait until every little thing in your life is right ready for you to do what you want to do. Especially a teenager, I think every teenager needs something to put their passion into and something to give them purpose. And if starting a small business is what you want to do, let that give you purpose in the kingdom. And just don't ever think it has to be perfect, because just like I said earlier, you're going to look back and think, "I should have done that differently," or, "Oh, that wasn't the cutest thing in the world." But it doesn't matter. At least you started it. Everybody has that. Everybody that's ever done anything significant looks back on some portion of it and is like, "That was terrible. Why did I think that was cute?" But it's okay. It's just normal. So just go for it.
We all have to start at start. And start is not always the most fun place to start from. Look at a board game. Sometimes I'll think of that for myself. I'm like, look at this board game and your start over here. And all the cool stuff is like towards the end, especially whenever you're going on a path. And, like even the path of life on the board game is that way. You go through these things, But in order to get to the end, in order to win the game, you have to keep going. You have to start where it says. And so I love that. Just getting started, no matter what it looks like or no matter how it is, get started on it. Thank you so much, Autumn, for sharing your dream, telling us how you got started, and telling us a little bit of your story and of your journey. Is there anything else that you would like to leave to the Unashamedly You community that's listening today?
Just do it. Don't wait for the perfect time. And also, another thing, especially within young girls, don't get caught up in the comparing your journey to somebody else's journey. Your journey is perfect and it's just how God wants it to be. And if your journey might be taking a little bit longer than someone else's in any aspect of life, because there were times that in trying to start AutiCloth, I was in my own mind, I would feel like, well, this is working out for this person, or this business is working for this other girl. Why won't it work for me? But my journey was perfectly made just for me. And it taught me so many things along the way. When you do start it, don't compare yours to somebody else's, because I know as girls, we can get caught up in that.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
And so comparing yourself at will. And the Bible says, don't compare ourselves among ourselves. So getting rid of that comparison and being who God is calling you to be, which is the whole point of Unashamedly You, doing what God's calling you to do and doing it unashamed. So where can people find AutiCloth? How can we shop from you?
So actually, right now I'm in the process of getting my website back up. I closed it whenever I opened the storefront because I wanted to put first priority on that. So in the process of getting the website back up, but for now I have an Instagram. It's at AutiCloth and Co. And then I have a Facebook that's just AutiCloth, and a lot of people order through Instagram right now. I'm shipping a lot like that. So you can order through there, but I will have the website up really soon.
Yay, we can't wait for the website. But for now, we'll find you on Instagram and Facebook and support you in that way. So thank you so much for being on here today. I know that you have blessed and inspired so many listeners. And thank you for agreeing to join us. And we cannot wait to see what happens to AutiCloth in the future.
That's fun. Thank you for having me.
As always, thanks for listening to another episode of the Unashamedly You podcast. And since this podcast recording, we have a huge surprise. AutiCloth Co. has reopened her website, and for our listeners this week only, she is offering you 15% off. Head over to auticlothandco.com, AutiClothandco.com, and use promo code UnashamedlyYou, all one word, for your discount. This code is good between now and July 7th. And when you shop, make sure to tag us so that we see what all goodies you got. Also, don't forget the Unashamedly You conference is quickly approaching with only a couple months away. Head to unashamedlyu.com and grab your tickets now. We cannot wait to see you there. We hope you have the best day, and go be unashamedly you.